Welcome to day 2 of our sales sprint. Today we're talking about ChatGPT marketing. We had a little bit of a conflict, so I am running this session myself today, but I've got a lot of really good tidbits and insights to share with you. As you know, Kay Thomas is an amazing expert on AI for travel advisors, and she should, number one, if you're not following her on Instagram, you definitely should. Number two, if you're planning to come to our conference this October, you'll get the opportunity to meet her in person and learn how to train your chat GPT from her in person. But today I'm going to give you some of my own tips from my own trials, testing, and use of chat GPT so your marketing can get better. So let me just preface this first by asking who over here joining us live is using ChatGPT or some sort of AI tool in your marketing currently. I want to show of hands, and then we're really going to kick this party off. I want to see who is actually using ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT every single day. So this is not a session where I'm going to tell you, this is not a ChatGPT hate session by any means. We love ChatGPT. It works, it saves time. But today's session is all about how to tweak your content to make it better. If you're using ChatGPT as a marketing and as a sales tool, it's a great way to save time, but there are some challenges with it. That's just how these things go. So, show of hands who's currently using ChatGPT for your marketing. I would love to see. Okay, we've got lots of people saying yes. So no no's yet. So that means that it sounds like almost all of you have hopped on the bandwagon and you're using it, which is fantastic. That's really great to hear. It is such a good time saving tool, and it's such a great way to cut through the noise. I see a lot of hand raise emojis. Okay, so far, everyone that's live on the session right now is using ChatGPT. Everyone that's commented so far. Okay, so we love ChatGPT for all of its time savings, but there are some pretty dead giveaways. When I'm scrolling my feed, I see content all day, every day from travel advisors. You guys are like basically the only people that I follow and engage with on social media. And I love that. But because so many people are using ChatGPT now, it's become so much easier for me to tell. I come from a copywriting background and a communications background. So it's really easy for me to tell when people are using ChatGPT. And there are a few reasons why, while you do want to continue to use it, you definitely want to be mindful of how. So when I'm scrolling, I'm seeing things like very overly vague or overly general descriptions of like resorts and destinations, saying things like breathtaking views and it's a treasure trove of things, and using these very vague words that sound really nice in a Condé Nast article, but actually don't tell people what you're talking about. So that's definitely one thing to look out for, to be mindful of in your ChatGPT content. It's overly vague. The way that these language models are created, they're generalists, they're good at a lot of things, which is fantastic for all of us. We get answers really quickly to lots of different things. However, that does pose a challenge when we're trying to do very specific tasks that require a little bit more expertise, especially marketing. If you're not a marketing expert, it's really easy to open up ChatGPT and think, boom, we've arrived. It knows everything. It's going to help me. It's going to make life easier. But just like your work as a travel advisor, where you can type in, tell me what it's like to visit XYZ city or go to XYZ resort or hotel. And if you've been to that resort or that hotel, you're going to be able to look at ChatGPT's description and ChatGPT's what it's saying to you and see the holes in the plot. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to much more quickly, much more easily call out when things aren't quite going well. So that's how it is for me in marketing. I can quickly take a look at ChatGPT's outputs and see, this is where it needs a little bit more spice and a little bit more flavor. So overly vague language is definitely a dead giveaway that you're using ChatGPT. The next thing is like not really, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit, is not really providing context for what you do. So making very vague claims like stress-free travel. ChatGPT has learned everything that it needs to learn or know from the internet of what a travel advisor does, what your role is. And in some cases, actually in a lot of instances, when it describes what you do, it's like the 2015 version of what you do. And so it makes very vague promises, things like stress-free travel or I save you time, but really doesn't often dig below the surface to give the right context for explaining that for people. Or this is perfect for families, but why, how, I don't know. It doesn't really give that context as well. So that's another dead giveaway. The next thing is very repetitive sentence structures. And now, once you see this, it's going to be really tough to unsee this. But ChatGPT tends to do a lot of, you're not looking for this, you're looking for this, or if this, then why? And it does a lot of like almost like forced authority, like bottom line this, or I'm going to spill the tea on this. And so if you're using ChatGPT just out of the box, it it's going to do what it needs to do. Its job is to give you a response anytime you ask a question or you ask it to do something for you. So it's just compiling that in the quickest way possible, shrinking the time and making it happen. So what you want to look for is these sort of repetitive sentence structures in your content. Picture this, imagine this, from this to this. And so it tends to do this again and again, and it's very repetitive. The next problem and the challenge with ChatGPT created marketing content is the lack of personal voice. I know many of you just, you don't have the time. Social media, marketing, all of it takes so much time. That's why it is a full-time job for people. That is why like our marketing team is not just one person. There's multiple people behind the scenes making things happen, like email marketing and social media and all of it. It's really hard to do by yourself. But you're trying to do it all. And so one of the things that can sort of fall through the cracks is using ChatGPT and just sort of taking what it gives you and running with it. But personal voice is really important, especially since we're all using ChatGPT. Your fellow travel advisors are using ChatGPT. So they're getting the same descriptions and sentence structures and styles that you would outside of the out of the box when you're using GPT. And then the next thing is that it tends to be too broad to attract ideal clients. So it tends to uh, try and answer questions or give descriptions and things based off of kind of any traveler. And so it's up to you to start infusing that. We're going to talk about that in a second. Sometimes as well, inconsistency. We know that ChatGPT can still spoof and make up details and things like that. So it really is a great way to start, a great way to brainstorm, a great thing to bounce ideas off of, but it is not the thing to take care of all of your marketing. There's also the added fact that like ChatGPT, although now it's starting to add some functionalities to it, you still also have to do everything. And that's one of the problems we solve with Travel Agent Collective's software is that you don't have to be the one to just do all of it, brainstorm and then write the caption and then go and schedule. So ChatGPT gets you to the point where it can brainstorm and it can write the caption. Tools like Travel Agent Collective are actually scheduling the post for you, finding the visuals in our library, making sure that your stuff is all lined up and scheduled, all of it. So it's that full end to end. But back to ChatGPT. So, first things first is infusing your own voice and your own personality into the content that you're creating. So, while it is a great tool for brainstorming, again, and laying things out and running different scenarios, it is not the be all and end all. And I, as a someone who is a copywriter, marketer, social media expert, I've been an entrepreneur for 13 plus years. I've worked in comms for that time. Um, I've never, ever in my time using ChatGPT taken its response or something it's written and put it out into the world without tweaking it. So it still has work to do. Maybe one of these days it might happen, but right now it's still not at the place where it perfectly writes everything to my standard. And I have a high standard. I can admit that. So when it comes to ChatGPT, you need a trained GPT model. That's the bottom line. You need to give it context for who you are, what you do, who you serve, how you serve them. That's the first thing. So, training a model is really important to making sure that you're getting a step ahead of some of these vague promises, not understanding your niche, not understanding your ideal clients. That prompt that I gave you yesterday is a really good starting point, the one to brainstorm your ideal clients' fears, frustrations, and desires. That is a fantastic starting point for giving it context for who you serve, how you serve them, what their challenges are, and how you might be able to help them as a travel advisor. I'll give you a second prompt. So let's just say maybe you're not training a model. We don't have time to get into training a model today, but you can absolutely train within the chat that you're working within. So before you create anything with ChatGPT, number one, I recommend running that prompt of brainstorming fears, frustrations, desires, because now it has a more full context for who your people are, how you might be able to serve them, what your solutions are for them. That's the first prompt. Second prompt is let's now brainstorm some of the ways that I, as a travel advisor, specializing in insert niche, can solve these problems for them and make travel better for them. So now it's going to brainstorm. You can give it a number, brainstorm 10 points for me. And it's going to brainstorm those 10 points of the solutions that you provide. Some of the things are things you're probably going to know, but what I do love about GPT is brainstorming different ways to say what you do, which is essentially it. There are 1,000 different ways, stories, anecdotes that you can share that highlight you saving time or highlight you giving clients clarity or highlight you making decisions easier for them. And that is what marketing is. It's repeating the same things again and again and again in different ways to resonate with people. There's only so many ways to there's a list of things that you as a travel advisor do, and really you're taking from that list and explaining it in different ways. So, first prompt, we're brainstorming the fears, frustrations, desires. Second prompt, we're brainstorming how you as a travel advisor can solve those problems for them, or different ways you might explain how you solve those problems for them. So now you have a bit more of a wholesome chat to work with. Once you have that layer of understanding of your ideal clients, now you're going to start to create your content. Now you're going to start to ask it, okay, let's write a caption based off of insert struggle that my ideal clients have, or let's write a caption regarding insert challenge that they have, and let's tailor it to going to Hawaii or to Mexico or to Cancun. So now you have a nice base layer, and now you can layer onto it your niche, the destinations that you specialize in, all that good stuff. And this is just within a chat. We're not even talking training a GPT model, because again, that's quite a bit more work and a bit more technicality, but you can still get the essence of that and still create better content with these prompts. And as I mentioned, Kate couldn't join me today, but she's going to be at our conference in this October, and she's going to show you on site at the conference how to train your first GPT model. So you go home with a model that's trained for you, your voice, your ideal clients, and your business. So that's going to be a really great ROI on your investment, because ChatGPT, Claude, all of these tools, they're not going anywhere. The best thing that you can do is take some time to properly train them so they can act as that assistant for you. So we're solving the problem of generic, vague content with some of these prompts. Now, the second thing is infusing your personal voice. Again, ChatGPT is going to sort of like make up what it thinks is right, but ultimately, in this world of AI, of ChatGPT, the thing that is going to set you apart is those personal experiences. When you have a trained model, you're using the paid version of ChatGPT, and you have a trained model. What's really nice about having that trained model is you can start to feed it some of your own personal anecdotes, some of your own personal stories, some of your own personal experiences from your travel, your client experiences, some of your client testimonials. And then it has all of that information and that data to pull from when creating content for you. So now you're like 10 steps ahead of the game. You're getting content you're getting outputs that are much more in alignment and require way less work for you to tweak. So, in the scenario where you're training your model, you're giving it this information up front. That's work we're going to do with you in October if you join us at Altitude. But for the sake of this current session and just simply using one chat, what you're then going to do is give that information to GPT. Let's see. Let's say it writes you a caption about Italy, and you've been to Italy, you've been to Rome. Then you can take that caption that it gives you and say, I went to Rome recently. I really loved the gelato. I stayed at XYZ hotel. Here's what I thought about it. And then you put that in and ask it to rewrite whatever baseline generic caption it just wrote for you. But now it has your own personal stories, your own experiences, some of the places you stayed at. So now we've gone from completely generic, impersonal caption, because if I go into ChatGPT and it's untrained, mine is very trained now, of course, it knows the drill. But if I were to start from scratch and go and ask it to write a caption about Italy, I'm probably going to get like a pretty mixed bag of stuff. Probably something that's not really actually going to work. So we're giving it little layers, we're giving it tidbits, we're giving it pieces of information that it can then use and has context for who you are, what you book, the type of travels you've personally been on. And now it's writing from those anecdotes and from those experiences versus just trying to like make up what it can. You're not always going to have personal anecdotes for the destinations you're booking or talking about, and you're not always going to have personal anecdotes for the maybe the hotel you want to feature. Maybe it's something you want to start booking that you haven't booked yet. And so, what you want to look at is how do you personalize that caption? How do you add your own voice? So, a few small tweaks that you can make to your GPT content. Number one, I always, always, always tell it to be conversational, especially with any sort of social media or email content. Conversational is the way. Um, you don't want to sound like a travel brochure or Conde Nast in your social content and in your email. That's a very specific brand style, but what we've been finding is that very conversational content is the key to pulling people in, making them feel connected to you, building that rapport and that trust with them. So I always prompt it to create conversational content. I may also throw in words like make this more relatable and conversational and less polished. ChatGPT is so polished. And again, if you're writing for the pages of Condé Nast, sure, no problem. But we're in a world now where people just they don't want to be talked at. They really want to be spoken to. So I always prompt it to make things a little bit less polished and to make it sound like I am talking to a friend or explaining the concept to a client I like and enjoy working with. So now it's a much more back and forth kind of vibe than it sounding way too buttoned up, way too formal, or way too polished. Because that's the other thing I'm noticing with ChatGPT content is that it is so polished that it almost sounds like kind of like a car salesman a little bit. And so softening the language is really important. But what you're going to also do is if let's say you haven't been to that place or that destination or that hotel before, you're still going to try and infuse some filler words that make it sound more conversational to you. Maybe you can position the story from if I were going here, here's what I'd like to do, or if I were sending you here, here's what I would recommend, or I can't wait to go here next month, next year, whenever. So those are some ways to just sort of take away, strip it down a little bit and start from the ground. Start in building. What am I trying to say here? Start from the ground and build up in a way that gives ChatGPT the right context and information to make your content give it a little bit more oomph. A lot of the things that I taught you yesterday should also be considered when you're using ChatGPT, making sure that you are infusing your voice and your own personality and your own opinions, making sure that you are sharing those personal insights and experiences, making sure that you're not just letting it give you these vague explanations. Oh, travel, I make travel so stress free, but without explaining how or why you do that. So, context is important. Jump in the chat, tell me, are you with me? Is it resonated? Right. So Jen says, I always tweak it as it doesn't speak like I do. Honestly, that's the thing. And it's doing what its general thing. So having a trained model is chef's kiss. It makes things so much easier. It makes it more streamlined. It makes it so you can get in, do what you need to do, and get out and move on with the rest of your day. So, highly recommend if you're not joining us at Altitude in October, figure out how to either hire someone to or train yourself on how to create your own model, train your own GPT because it's going to save you the time of constantly having to tweak and tweak and tweak. And what you'll find is that you'll get more responses that are much more like you and much more in alignment with you. But that does require training. Yeah, you do have to train it to you, and that's the key. Ooh, love it. Jesse says yesterday's prompt was great. I was able to dive deeper, like 4 more levels. Absolutely. What I love about that prompt that I shared yesterday, list out the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires of ideal client in insert niche, is that you can take it, you can layer it down by different client archetypes. You can layer it down by different destinations. There's so many layers and layers and layers that you can keep going with that to dig deeper. But truly, that is at the heart. I find that that is the best way to sort of get ChatGPT in alignment, whether or not you have a trained model. It just sort of puts things on the right page for you. And what it does is, I feel like it starts to understand, it starts to approach your content and your marketing from a different perspective. Not just like, I plan trips and here's all the things. It's now like, oh, okay, we actually want to start relating to these people and thinking about what the fears, the frustrations, and their desires are, and create the content from that place and create the marketing from that place. So that is gold. So, quick review, we're going to open up a Chat GPT chat, and you're not necessarily training your model or a model, but you can do this in any chat at any time. First prompt is to list the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires that people have around insert type of travel. It's going to give you that list. And then the next thing that you're going to do is list the top 10 ways that I, as a travel advisor, am uniquely positioned to solve this problem for people. Then, once you've done that work, now you can get into the brainstorm. So, what I like to do is I will take one of those fears, one of those frustrations, and one of those desires, not all three together, one of them, not and. So, you'll take one fear or frustration or desire, and then you're going to create a post from that. So, I will prompt it and say, let's take the fear of not picking the right resort for a honeymooner, and let's create a caption or a carousel or a reel around this fear or frustration. Then from there, I might layer it on by saying, okay, great, now we have a caption. Let's insert the story of when I helped my clients book in at Chablé Maroma in Mexico, which was the perfect resort for them because it's wellness focused and it's quiet and they had their own private villa. Let's infuse this in the caption as a story. And now I've created a much more unique piece of content, a much more interesting, a much more dynamic piece of marketing content that is layered, that is thinking about my ideal client and where they're at in the planning process, getting into their head and thinking about what they're thinking about. And now I have a much better caption versus me trying to do this on my own, just out of the box. We're going to run a quick little tutorial on this because we're going to try it on my Chat GPT. I don't know that it's going to work because mine is so trained. So it might just kind of already understand the drill. But right now I don't have any models that are completely fresh. So we're just going to have to work with what we've got. But I want to give you a little bit insight into what this looks like. So we've got ChatGPT open. I will repeat the prompts in 1 second. I'll put them up on screen. Okay, so we've got my GPT open. Like I said, this is already trained, so we're going to see. So I can pop in here and just say, write me a honeymoon caption. Write me a caption to get more honeymoon bookings. Okay. Okay, it's all right. You'll see that ChatGPT is doing what it does, which is one of those sentence structures that's a dead giveaway because your honeymoon shouldn't just be a trip, it should be this. And so it does this a lot. It shouldn't be this, it should be this. If not this, then this. So I like to tell it to not do these sentence structures, but it's an okay caption. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It does have some training because I use GPT all the time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that prompt I provided to you guys yesterday, and I will put a screen grab of this in the chat so you have it. Let me just edit. Actually, I'll pop it in before I make changes to it. And I'm going to use honeymoons for as my example for this. So, act as a Instagram social media marketer. I want you to do some research for me. Tell me the top 10 fears, frustrations, and desires that honeymooners, that couples, so we're thinking about who the ideal client is for their type of trip. And it's going to put it in a graph for me. Boom, boom, boom. We've got 30 different things. It's doing its research. And the second thing that I'm going to do is, as a honeymoon expert, I'm a honeymoon expert. Let's brainstorm the top 10 ways that I can solve these fears and desires for them. And I'll put that in the chat as well. So it's going to make another list for me. Perfect. So it's giving me my chart, some of the solutions that I provide, how I position it. And I love this because it's already giving me some ideas of how I could talk about these fears, frustrations, and desires in my marketing. Why are we even approaching it from this way? We're approaching it from this way because ultimately we have to remember that people aren't just buying a trip or booking a trip or booking a resort. They are, at the end of the day, booking the transformation of who they are on the trip. The relaxed mom who finally gets to read her book, the couple who's reconnected and in love because they have time to focus on each other, they're booking that, right? The resort is, of course, part of it. The hotel is, of course, part of it. But ultimately, they're booking the feeling that they're going to get on that trip. So, tapping into the fears, frustrations, desires, this allows us to resonate with where they are right now, what they're thinking about right now as they're thinking of planning the trip or in the process of planning the trip, and showing them and highlighting for them all of the ways that you are the best solution to what it is that they want, which is relaxing on the beach, sipping a margarita, not worrying about anything, and not like in the back of their mind being like, oh, this resort's kind of terrible and I sort of hate it here, or whatever the thing that is that they're trying to avoid. So that's why we're tackling it from this perspective. And again, we're giving GPT context that it can work with versus giving it nothing to work with, where it's just kind of trying to pull things out of thin air. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to scroll back up to this chart. We're going to pick one of the fears, of frustrations, and desires, because this is a great baseline intro of your next. This could easily be your next 30 days of social media posts, or 30 days of emails, or 30 days of blog posts. You can always take this back to any piece of marketing you're trying to create and kind of use this as your ground floor to build from. Okay, so this is some interesting frustrations. Okay. Um, so this is a frustration, or I would say this is a little bit more of a fear, but ChatGPT put it in the frustration category, running into their honeymoon right after wedding without time to decompress. Okay, great fear that the honeymoon will fall short of their dream expectations. We're going to roll with this one because I think that is a very valid concern. And yeah, people are spending money on their honeymoon. You only get one. So they want it to be good. So we're going to take that one. And now we're going to ask ChatGPT to create a post from that. So let's take the fear of and create a post that highlights the fear and highlights how I, as a trusted expert, can help. So let me pop that. Let me let Grammarly do its thing, and I'll post that in the chat. Okay. Fear of honeymoon disappointment caption. Okay, beautiful. So instead of just this sort of like, okay, lukewarm, like it's fine. There's nothing wrong with this first caption. Well, actually, I won't say that. I won't say that there's nothing wrong with it. It sounds fine on the surface. But if we're thinking about yesterday's lesson of posting to build awareness, to build, to nurture, or to convert, this is sort of not really fitting into either of those categories, any of those categories. And from my perspective, I don't feel like it does the justice that you do, that it really does your service justice. Whereas this very tangibly acknowledges the honeymooners or the couple's fears and frustrations. So they're going to read this and think, oh my gosh, okay, they totally get it. I'm very much feeling this way. And you're highlighting how you solve that problem for them, how you close the gap, how you make it easier for them. So, much better caption, much better piece of marketing content. Again, you can turn this into an email so I can ask it, let's turn this into an engaging email that invites them to book a discovery call. And it's going to do its thing and write that. But again, it's all about giving the context. And what I love about this format is that it gives it that emotional context that really understands where your ideal clients are uh, at in the planning process, and truly does resonate with them on a much deeper level than just being generic and vague on social media or in your emails or in your marketing. Okay, so now we've turned that into a social media post and into an email, much more effective. All right. I've put the captions in the chat on YouTube and on Facebook. I've put those 3 prompts for you guys. You can find them there. So, all this is to say that if you're using ChatGPT, you're using AI to create content, it needs context from you. You don't want to just use it out of the box. Keep wanting to say outside of the box, and that's not what I'm trying to say at all. You don't want to use it just out of the box, freshly opened, with no context for who you are, who you serve, how you serve them, understanding their fears, their frustrations, their desires around the type of travel that you specialize in is a golden way to give ChatGPT the right context. So you start with that layer, then you add the layer of here's how I help solve these problems, or let's brainstorm around how I help solve these problems. Because every single time you post, as we talked about yesterday, that is an opportunity to promote your service. But without saying book now or I'm a travel advisor and I save you time, you're showcasing how you do that throughout the every single time you post and throughout the process of your marketing. And what I love about ChatGPT having that context for how you solve the problem is that it remembers that in the chat. It's referring back to that every single time it gives you a response. So it's not forgetting, oh, right, we have to make this connection of how the travel advisor plays a role in this process. So we have that added layer of how you solve their problems. And then we're using those fears, frustrations, and desires to create content and to highlight. We're bringing the two things together: the fears, the frustrations, the desires, and how you as a travel advisor can help solve that problem. So, this is sort of like an express version of how to immediately improve your Chat GPT created or your AI created content simply by just giving it that emotional context or the psychographics of your ideal clients, which is all the things that they're thinking about, dreaming about, things that keep them up at night when it comes to the type of travel that you specialize in. So that is a great head start. What I will say is that having a trained model working for you in your business is absolutely essential now. ChatGPT AI is not going anywhere, and the gap, like the snowball's rolling down the hill very, very quickly. AI is just becoming this bigger, 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 bigger thing. And this is the solution that so many of you have been looking for because you're already stretched thin. You have so many things on your plate. And what's great about AI now is that it starts to take some of that ease off of your shoulders and make some things easier and quicker to do. However, You don't want AI to make you sound generic. You don't want it to take you out of your business. That's why it is so important to add context, add details, and to share. So the next step in this process would be, and we didn't do this one, but I might give it some context for a trip that I recently planned. I recently planned a trip, a honeymoon, let's say. I'm using Chablis Maroma. It was perfect because they love wellness. Let's build this story into my email. And we're adding some personalization. Never let ChatGPT get away with giving you, uh, or don't let yourself get away with taking you out of this equation because again, we're all using ChatGPT now. The thing that sets us all apart, even though we're using the same tool, is that personalization, is the storytelling, is the things that you're booking. So it's doing its thing. Perfect. So it turned that story into a little bit more of whole a full piece of content, like really truly giving some personalization and some context for you, the travel advisor. So, and of course, that was my made up scenario. But for you guys, that would be whatever story that you have or whatever you just booked recently. Giving it that information and giving it that context really just does help it take things to the next level. Now, the challenge with just sort of doing this in a chat is that every time you open up a new chat, you've got to like retrain, retell all of it. So having that trained model just helps you so exponentially do things quicker because you're training it once, it's remembering as it goes, but it has that information in that context always. So that's just one of the things that we're going to be doing at the Altitude Conference this October. As I mentioned to you, Kate Thomas, is going to be there to walk you guys through that process. This is a very hands-on conference. So we're not just sitting and talking and sending you home with a notebook full of things without actually giving you practical things done in your business. So one of the things that when I said I wanted to host a conference, I knew I wanted it to be a little bit different than I would say a lot of other industry conferences. And this is no hate and no shade. There's a time and a place for everything. But this conference truly is all about you, your marketing, your sales, and your processes. So I always say that when you have the right systems in place, you can sell any supplier, you can sell any destination, any hotel, as long as you have a solid marketing and sales system working for you, churning behind the scenes, you can sell anything. And so what I found with industry conferences is that they're very, very supplier focused and very supplier heavy. This is completely the on the opposite end of the spectrum. So it's all about you and all about your business. So we're spending 4 days together in Mexico, and I'm just going to scroll down past all of this because I want to talk to you about the ROI of being there really quickly. You're going to be walking away with a trained GPT model and all of the other elements of your sales and marketing, that things that you have been wanting to get in place probably for months or years but haven't had the time, like a proper lead magnet, like an actual structure for your sales calls so you're leading clients down the pipeline properly, like having a client experience workflow in place, like having sales scripts to properly qualify people in the DMs, like having a professional photo shoot done, a professional video shoot done. This is about your sales and your marketing. And ChatGPT is a really crucial part of that because it is essentially, so many of you use it as an assistant. So many of you use it as a marketing expert as part of your business. So we're training that model to make sure that you go home with something that's going to work for you in your business. The other thing is that we're giving you our trained GPT model. So with all of the things that we're going to be doing at the conference, realistically, we're not going to be able to get it all fully done in 4 days. So you're going to be going home with a trained model that has information from all of our speakers. I don't think any other conference has ever done that in the industry as far as I can tell. But what we don't want is for you to go home and leave with a bunch of notes and not get anything done. And number two, lose the momentum. So you're going home with a trained GPT model to help you finish off everything that you're going to start at the conference in your sessions with the speakers. And yeah, we're getting the work done. We're setting up those sales and marketing systems that are created to help you attract and get people booking and nurture them so they keep booking with you again and again. They're repeat clients. Should we have a paid ChatGPT membership prior to attending Altitude? Great question. Yes, it is going to be the most robust way to train it and store all the information and have everything there working for you. So I definitely recommend having a paid GPT. I think it's $20 a month, as far as I know. I don't know if they changed the price recently, but yes, having that paid GPT is going to be really helpful to just making sure that anything you train it with while you're at the conference is going to remember that. As I said, you're also getting our trained model, and that doesn't require you to have a paid GPT account to use, but you'll have that to do all the work and keep the momentum going after the conference because there are some really crucial things you need in your business to keep it running, to have that room, that wiggle room. And what's great about technology right now is that you absolutely can run a business where you're not the one doing everything all of the time. The pressure isn't always on your shoulders thanks to AI. So we're really leveraging that within our time together. Melissa says, I think I can come to the conference now, and I'm super pumped. I cannot wait to meet you in person. Jennifer says, I'm bummed because I have a conflict that'll be during those dates, but this is exactly what I want to go to. So I'm hoping you'll have more in the future. Absolutely. We are already thinking about next year and the theme and all of the things. But this truly is I and again, this is not to discount because there's a time and a place for everything. But I think for me, I know what when I speak to you guys, when I talk to you in DMs and on Instagram or on calls with our members, I know that it's not the supplier updates that's keeping you up at night. I know that it's not the hotel opening announcements and the cruise line launches and things that's keeping you up at night. It is the sales, it's the leads flow, it's the clients you feel aligned with, it's the bookings, it's the money in your bank account at the end of the day. So we're putting the emphasis on those things that are keeping you up at night at this conference and solving those problems so you can breathe a little bit easier in your business. It's going to be a nice big breath of fresh air to breathe some life back into you personally. We got some really fun things planned for you, the business owner, you, the travel advisor, you, the human who deserves to have a business that you enjoy and love and want to do every single day and don't feel stressed about it. And then, of course, pouring into your business as well to get those systems in place so you can breathe that breath of fresh air. There will be a replay. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. And what types of outfits would you recommend for the photo shoots? So we are sending out excuse me, mind my language in my mouth. We're not going to make you wait till October. In early September, we're sending out a bunch of details, and that's going to include outfit ideas and things like that, what to pack. What I would recommend is, do you have anything? What are your brand colors? Some things to consider on what to bring. What are your brand colors? Maybe picking some styles and a few colors that reflect that. Doesn't mean you don't need to come decked out in your whole brand colors unless you want to, but maybe picking a blouse or a blazer or like bracelets or something that might have your brand colors in it. Whatever you feel most comfortable and confident in. And listen, if you want to do your full photo shoots in a tracksuit, I am not going to be the one to tell you no. It's about what you're most comfortable in, you feel most confident in. I would bring a few different outfits. There's going to be lots of opportunity to get content. So you've got your professional photo shoot, your professional video shoots, but we also have little pop-up content pods all over the property that you'll be able to just like pop into and create content in. So bring the outfits, bring the fits. You're going to need them. You're absolutely going to need them. Janessa says, can we have a call where we talk about outfits? I'm trying to create a Pinterest board for ideas. Absolutely. We will do an onboarding. I don't know if that's the right word, but we're going to do a call, I think late September for the call, but you will get outfit ideas and all sorts of other things You know what? Actually, I think we need to bump that call up. I'm thinking for myself, a month to plan might not be enough. So, what we'll do is we'll do that call in mid September. So, we can discuss outfits and all the things. Our team is working behind the scenes to lay out different ideas of things that you could bring. So, you'll have lots of inspiration of what you could pack. But definitely, you're going to want to bring a few different outfits. And if I was thinking for myself, I would probably bring a blazer that can go over a bunch of different things. I would bring at least one maxi dress, maybe one midi dress, and then a few like pant shirt combinations. I'm a dress girly. I love a dress because it's the easiest thing. You don't have to coordinate between two different pieces of clothing. So dresses all day, every day if you want. Like I said, if you want to bring a velour tracksuit in your brand colors and that's what you want your outfit to be, I'm not going to be the one to tell you no. It is whatever you want to do. So we will make sure that we'll schedule that call for early mid September to make sure that you guys have lots of time to plan your outfits and all the things. It's going to be really good. And the space, we're completely transforming it. I know I didn't want to spend 4 days in a cold conference center with no lighting and beige carpets and black draping. So we're completely transforming the space to make it cozy, make it comfortable, make it a place you want to be because we do have a beach. We do have like several pools, several restaurants and lots of things to do right outside of our door. And I don't I don't want to be put through that torture. So we're making sure the space that we're spending time in at the conference is cute, it is comfortable, and that it is inviting because you deserve to do the work that's going to build your business in a space that's going to make you feel good and inspired. Love it. I will definitely make it replayable, so we'll make sure that we send that out post call. Yes, cruise Wi-Fi can be very, very tricky, Angie, very tricky. So I understand. So, yeah, if you are interested in coming, comment conference, you'll get all the details. As I mentioned, Kate's going to be there in person. She'll be walking you through how to customize your own GPT and how to start training it properly. We've got lots of other sessions. I'll be doing a session, of course, on content, social media. We've got video strategy. We've got embodiment. We have sales calls, which is that is a really, really juicy one. So if you're getting on your sales calls currently and you don't have a full structure for how you're leading that call, what questions you're asking to qualify the client and to lead them because they're looking to you as the guide, lead them into the yes, then this will be a really good session for you to lay out your own roadmap for your sales calls to make sure you go into them confidently and have the right system in place to nurture people. You're going to be working on your client experience workflow as well. So if you don't have something in place to nurture people after they book with you, because quite honestly, that is a source of potential bookings that you might be missing out on. That's going to be work that we're doing together as well. It's going to be really good. It's going to be really fun. I am personally in charge of curating the swag bags. So I'm very excited about that. There's some really good stuff in there. So none of this is anything like a conference you've ever been to in the travel industry. That I will tell you. We're transforming the space. We have sessions that are very practical, very focused on you. The swag bags are going to be good. The events are going to be good. You'll have lots of opportunity to meet fellow advisors and connect and create community. And it's just going to be really, really good. Oh, thank you so much. It might be that, like, I think that StreamYard puts a very slight filter on these videos. So that's why we're looking extra flawless and dewy. But I will absolutely share the makeup tips at our call in September. I have some good go-tos that I always bring on vacation with me. We're going to be in hot weather. I'm probably actually going to bring some of it for backup because you just never know when another girly might need might need some. So I'll make sure that I'm giving you all the details on what I think, my opinion on what you might like to bring for makeup. It's going to be great. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to live at 11 a.m. tomorrow to talk about something you might be missing in your business right now when it comes to bookings, some untapped bookings you might have, and some really easy ways to get more people booking immediately. So it's going to be good. Melissa, I'm crossing my fingers for you too because I would love to see you there. Um, Side note, what's a good gimbal to get? I want to bring it to the conference. The DJI gimbal's pretty good. That is a good one. There are some off-brands ones on Amazon now I know that are similar, maybe just a little bit cheaper than the DJI one. I haven't really I'll have to go and look to see what the word on the street is on the like off-brand ones, but the DJI one's great. I would say Amazon's always a good place, but just double check the reviews. If it's less than like, I would say 4.3 stars, don't buy it. But DJI is always a good option. You're so welcome, Jennifer. Lane, you're welcome as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're talking about your fountain of untapped bookings. So I'm going to give you some details on how to get get more of those. Get more of those bookings. All right, everybody. Catch you later.